Welcome back to the 2019 Academy Summer Split, where OpTic Gaming are facing off against TSM Academy. We do appreciate your patience while we resolve the issues within the game. Everything is in working order now, and we should be headed into game in just a few minutes.
Yes, and if you didn't catch the champion select, this is how it unfolded. A AoE composition with lots of magic damage for TSM, and then a Qiyana jungle for OpTic Academy, something we've seen out of Dardoch before, but neither you nor I have seen Dardoch play as we missed that game, so we're strapping in for our first iteration of the Qiyana Dardoch jungle.
And again, for OpTic, certainly critical to win pretty much all their games at this point, to be honest. And even though their road is tough, if they can squeak out those 3 wins, may very well be able to be the team that steals that final playoff spot.
And they do need that, especially for the morale. You're down an 8-game losing streak. I've been down that road. I actually have to check how long it was. It might have been shorter or longer, probably longer. Still feels bad. Any win that you can get is going to immediately lighten the mood up and make it so that you can actually crack down for the last few games. And with only 3 remaining, this is the time to do it. You don't have much opportunity.
And as Treats, as we heard from Treats at the top of this game, they feel like they understand exactly how to beat OpTic. If you shut down Dardoch, keep that leash nice and short, not a whole lot else that the team can do. So if there's ever a time to also prove Treats wrong, the rest of OpTic could also step up behind Dardoch. Because it does seem like when he can get them leads, the rest of the team is able to kind of step up and do what they need to do to close out the game. But as evidenced by their record, that has not happened very often in the second half of this split.
I want to see how saying we want to put a leash on Dardoch manifest inside the game, because does that mean we're looking at a map split kind of invade, where you invade level 1 with a strong jungler and a strong side top or bottom to split the map and then force Dardoch to only be in one quadrant? Or does that mean that you have an aggressive jungler that's now going to be trying to track him down? What does that actually mean? Because when you've got Jarvan against Qiyana, I have to imagine that Qiyana has the advantage in the 1v1, just because Jarvan typically doesn't beat anybody in the 1v1. It's always if he surprises you or gank assists you, or if he gets a significantly large gold lead, he can start building AD and then crush you. But I think Qiyana should have the upper edge here.
All right, we'll have to see, because we are now into game as the teams will move out onto Summoner's Rift. Very curious to track Dardoch here in these early levels on Qiyana, a champion that is real fun to watch both play and play with. Dardoch also has started W, not Q, but I think that makes sense given that your auto attacks do become empowered when you're able to have an element. And of course, there is potential for some real cheesy stuff, potentially. You can hold your element and then immediately walk to a lane to try and find a route. Generally, though, at least in solo lanes, you do want to wait till level 3 for Qiyana, when you can use all your abilities to combine, and then you get a lot stronger. But you never know with Dardoch, certainly a player that is unafraid to try anything super spicy.
I do love cheese, and I particularly love spicy cheese. But food aside, I think that players should consider at all times, what's the cheesiest play you can always do? And to put it into better context, cheese is not a play that is off meta or irreverent or bad. It's simply what's the least expected play. What does my opponent not account for? Or does my opponent think I'm going to be a gentleman here? And if he does, let's punish that. That's how I think of cheese usually, because I love just invading level 1 and trying to get a smite from under the other jungler and just tilting the other guy from the very get-go.
That was also a power leash by Asta and Gate. You can see Dardoch switching between elements to refresh the passive, which gives you bonus damage. So he's actually flying through the jungle, did not have to smite the red, now power clears the Krugs, and this might be a really fast level 3 here, and then Dardoch can make an impact in one of these lanes by ganking.
Yeah, he's really far ahead of Spica, finishing that Krugs, and the bottom lane didn't lose anything. They actually last hit the wave better than Johnson and Trees, who shoved, so so far, very good for OpTic, but there's not a lot of places for Dardoch to gank right now with this route. It would only be Brandini, and it's a very difficult lane to gank when you're a Kennen. As long as you don't use your Lightning Rush aggressively, you should be fine to get away from most, if not all ganks.
Dardoch level 3 with the red buff. This is not a bad time to try and apply some pressure, although Speaker does now move over to 3. We'll see that Zombie Ward and take it down, but Dardoch is going to look to invade here. No smite for Speaker. Dardoch going to look to steal this away and does get it.
Dardoch still has a potion, so he has a pretty big advantage over Speaker here when it comes to fighting against each other. And Speaker does not crack that. Brandini respects it.
Yeah, Dardoch actually trying to get something starting here in the top lane, but Speaker has tracked Dardoch expertly up to this top half of the map. But here's Dardoch now, gonna look for the root, does find it, resets there, now sees Speaker, but Alorum unfortunately cannot make it to the play. So Dardoch just forced to pull away from the potential gank.
Using grass as the element was very smart there, knowing that the Jarvan could be behind him. Has nobody collapse. And now he gets the first scuttler, which could result in 2, but I think he's just going to go for a blue buff, farm it out, and not go crazy for it. You have to take these buffs quickly early on, because the last thing you want is to hit minute 11 and you haven't taken your first blue buff.
Dardoch just kind of dancing between the elements there, clearly practiced on the champion as Brandini trying to keep Alorum at arm's length, but that early bit of pressure is actually meaning Alorum up slightly in CS, trying to absorb the pressure early on as this on versus Kennen. I will say though that TSM Academy are sticking to their word that Treats offered and doing a nice job of early tracking Dardoch here, although now that he goes back and picks up the red smite, you know that he's, as always, going to be looking for a fight.
He kind of tracked himself being really aggressive there, and with the ginormous leash that they gave him. So now it's when Dardoch is going to be really stealthed out, and it's up to Speaker to do a more diligent job in making sure that he doesn't get a good gank off.
Treats there trying to get onto Gate, but the Aftershock procs, and Gate, with the help of his shields, absorbing pretty much all that potential pressure. 10 CS up right now for Asta and Gate, so Callisto working out early as Alorum tries to find something in the top side. Brandini, I think if that knock-up had landed, he was dead.
He was done for.
Still nice there. Treats again looking. He gets rooted. Gate just really taking control, and that's an easy first blood for Asta. Don't know what Treats was thinking, but now Johnson getting chased away. He's going to be forced to flash there.
Oh, this dive could definitely happen. He has to hit the Q.
He can dash on him as well. Yeah, Dardoch I think knows he can get it. EQ, reset, Q, easy pick up there for Dardoch under the tower.
Yeah, he's really smooth with the Kiana so far.
And again, just pushing enough to get a couple plates. It looks like OpTic actually already had the wave pushing pretty aggressively, because that's more than one plate that's already dead. As we'll watch this again. I mean, Treats thinks he has something here, but this is just a misplay.
The bind was outrageous from Gate. It hit both members from point blank on the Rakan, so that was just beautiful by Gate.
And then Dardoch just does this the easy way. Johnson, no summoners, so no way to get out. Alright, so far so good. Bottom lane actually being kind of the solo star right now for OpTic as Alorum gets away. Speaker was topside, but dashes out to safety before any CC can happen. And now Dardoch and Gate potentially roaming together. Dardoch continuing to sweep through and kind of clear out vision, and with permanent access to the river and some pushing waves, Dardoch can kind of do what he wants right now with Gate behind him.
And I think for the fight in the bottom lane, what actually ended up making a big difference there is that Asta has Hail of Blades, and that will proc much faster than the Lethal Tempo that needs that 1.5 seconds of cool of time before you actually start hitting that attack speed bonus, which is much stronger in the later stages of the game, but nowhere near as powerful as the Hail of Blades early on. And sometimes we even see Rakans taking Hail of Blades because it's so powerful early on that makes Asta a much deadlier threat than Johnson at this early stage.
Speaker trying to at least play to the strong side of his map right now, as Brandini about a wave ahead of Alorum, getting that Scuttle Crab on the left-hand side. Nice juke there down from Johnson to not get bound up. But the pressure's still mounting here in bot lane. It's about 20 CS up for Asta as the wave does crash. Dardoch also stealing away this buff here. Looks to take that blue and should be able to do so. Although right now it's actually kind of a split map. Speaker over on OpTic's blue side jungle as well.
And with priority mid-bottom and the jungle, Dardoch will not choose to go for the dragon. Instead, we'll be going for those Krugs, which is a really smart choice because there's no point in sacrificing the lead. Well, not necessarily a lead, the pressure lead that he's built up so far for the experience. He's not going to get nearly as much for his own from the dragon as he could for the Krugs camp. So it's good on him, and now he'll have just enough gold to base and look for that completed warrior item. But first, he wants to make sure that the bottom lane gets a shove in.
He's got ulti as well, actually. This might be a dive setup here. Johnson, not that good a target with his ulti, but Treat's certainly looking like someone he could potentially take out. Dardoch, though, with the sweeper, continues to just clear out vision. So TSM will avoid the dive for now, and Speaker down here just to make sure nothing happens, although we know Dardoch is actually facing, deciding that with that ward being there probably means any dive attempt is not going to work out.
And they don't have any teleport, so it's just a 3-on-3 or a 3-on-2 dive had it happen. And look at that, Dardoch actually doesn't have enough money for the completed jungle item. He instead only gets the Caulfield's Warhammer and a control ward. So a little bit behind the jungle item, which does mean that Speak is going to be a bit stronger in the combat. Just having that Cinderhawk already will outmatch an uncompleted Skirmisher Saber.
Dardoch just continuing to clear camps here. Again, Kiana's champion that kind of needs items. So do want to make sure we can keep that farm up nice and high. Dardoch does tag the Drake here. Looks like OpTic will commit to starting the Cloud Drake at least.
It's only the bottom lane that can't collapse in. If they play it right, they will have the dragon advantage.
Really nice exclusive singularity there as Dardoch slams him into the wall. Gets the reset there with the W root, but now he's taking damage from the Drake. Dardoch dashes back around trying to leave, but he will fall to Speaker with an assist from the Cloud Drake. But Gate again nails the binding as Asta gets kill number 2. And now Scarlet swooping in, going to take down Speaker, looking for a Blazord there with the Fate's Call. Gate not quite able to find it. Now Blazord going to turn it back around, but the shield is going to proc the Hemo Plague down to Blazord, able to find it. Gets the Q back up as well. They need to kill him, but the Q does land. He's forced to flash. He will get out. But Blazord actually keeping that fairly even.
That was a really cool play out of TSM, knowing how to play that situation really well. I really love the fact that they used Dragon against OpTic here. And take a look at how it all started, because they commit the E, and yes, they get tagged out, but the engage is so decisive out of OpTic that they don't anticipate that TSM is gonna live through it. Speaker with the completed jungle item is already tanky enough to walk away from this one. So the dragon gets left behind, and instead we see a nice little kill being gifted away.
And then Gate thinks he has something here, but doesn't grab the knock up, and Blazord immediately turns around to finish off this kill.
I'm surprised that he didn't die, and that Asta wasn't gonna commit the flash on the second that Vladimir got bound. So instead he saves it, and now he's got a nice little gold lead and a completed Blade of the Ruined King, and best of all, he's got that stopwatch. It's going to stop a lot of the damage that TSM does if they're greeting out for him, looking for that bounty.
Yeah, it's a massive gold actually here for the Kalista. You can see 1,500 gold ahead or so. It's off to a very nice start here for the OpTic duo lane. But still, the battle for this Cloud Drake continues. Neither team really wanting to give it up as Dardoch looks mid.
And make a really good poster movie, Battle for the Cloud Drake. No team wants to give it up.
I thought the joke that no team wanted to pick it up. We love Cloud here in NA. Blazord, it's time to go back home. Scarlet finally able to get some leverage here in the 1v1. Hexdrinker, I think, helping out with Asta and Dardoch. Going to start off this Drake. Looks like they hopped into the back. Gate, though, going to give up the positioning, but not going to matter. It's more than enough damage to just take it out and get away.
And it's fine, and TSM can't respond with a Herald because Vladimir is not there. There's no pressure. But they do have that control ward, and look at that. Scarlet does have to check it, but he doesn't know that the control ward is still there. But that means that TSM and Spica do have an opportunity to sneak this down. They would just need sight on Dardoch.
We can see Dardoch right now. They're up on those Krugs. Imagine he'll have... Actually, already has finished his warrior. So clearly has enough to kind of get things going. I wonder what he's going next. I imagine there's just going to be some lethality out after this. Warrior, of course, very efficient, but doesn't give you the armor penetration you're after on an assassin. But it doesn't cost too much money. So I think just... Oh, certainly a stop worth taking.
I think maybe Yomu's?
Yep.
Yomu's at this point. I can't imagine going Tiamat at this stage. Typically, Tiamat junglers like to build that item first before completing the jungle item. So if I have to guess, it's either the Warhammer or the lethality item, depending on what he's going to do. If he's going to farm more, you go Warhammer. If you're... Okay, he does neither. We're still guessing. He goes magic.
Yeah, you definitely need some sort of good boot option. So instead of just deciding that's what I have money for right now, go ahead and buy that, make any future scuffles that much easier. Maybe gonna look to it here with Scarlet popping the package. Dardoch there with the stealth element ready. Here's Spica though. Dardoch again holding on. Hemu Plague out, dances back towards the tower as the Blaze Olive will get out safely. It did have to burn quite a few summoners.
It can be really dangerous to navigate this fight as Spica against Dardoch because of the ultimate interaction with the Cataclysm. You just don't really know what's going to happen if you ult and then the Cataclysm happens and you get your entire team killed.
That's true. There's actually that's actually quite an interesting interaction that I'm sure we'll see at least once this game, but pressure continuing here for OpTic. Dardoch going to land the root. Ooh, Spica buffing out of there, but a stun on the other side. Almost finds the follow-up.
Yeah, it's just like that. Imagine if that was on the Cataclysm, he's definitely going down. But instead, what goes down is the first tower for OpTic Academy in the bottom lane, and this might be the game where they turn around that 8-game losing streak, because so far, so good, and best of all, it's not Dardoch that's carrying. I think that's really what's standing out for me here. It's the bottom lane is doing a good job, the other lanes are keeping up, and yes, Dardoch's having an influence, but the biggest deal has been Asta and Gate with the 2v2 kill.
Dardoch's going to try and finish off this grab. Doesn't get it. Spica actually finds the smite, I believe. Dardoch, though, should be over the wall in short order and does get out easily. A nice steal there from TSM, continuing to try and apply pressure where they have strength. We've talked a lot about the OpTic bottom lane, which is still doing very well, as mid lane has been kind of a farm fest. It looks somewhat even there, but Brandini has kind of built a massive lead for himself. I think very comparable to the bot lane lead for OpTic. 30 CS ahead for the cannon and almost taking out the rest of that top outer turret. Makes sense why OpTic is going to swap up there now and try and knock down all 3 of those turrets in the outer ring.
Which should mean that TSM also swaps a few members up here. Jarvan at the very least, and Kiana from OpTic will make her way up here. I think that the Rift Herald is still worth contesting, even though the plates are not available for it. But we'll see what the teams prioritize, whether the battles for the towers or the Herald. They both lead. All roads lead to salvation here.
TSM needing a little more room. See if they can find a turret they can look to take down. But for now, OpTic going to have a lot of pressure in all 3 lanes. Everyone floating up towards the top half of the map here for OpTic. There's actually a Blaze Olive has been elected here in the top lane. Do what he can against the incoming minion waves. Certainly have seen TSM Academy, you know, when they feel like they can leverage, you know, their individual skill, they can certainly run over games. But for the most part, this has been a very, you know, TSM, I have to say, like, very deliberate in how they play, willing to play slow, more for mid to late games and try and find team fights. But OpTic are playing all-out aggression so far.
Yeah, I think TSM is waiting a little bit longer before they can get to a few comfortable items. Most likely the Zanyas out of Brandini, and then either the Zanyas out of a Blaze Olive, or maybe even a Death Cap or a Spellbinder. There's a lot that ramps up this entire squad, and there's not a whole lot of reason why they should accelerate it, because it's not like they're up against crazy tanks that are going to outscale them. You're up against 4 squishies for the most part, so if you can find the right fight in a later stage of the game, you're going to be able to blow the game wide open. And with a Mountain Dragon secure that was traded for the Herald and top tower, it could be that one good fight from TSM nets them a Baron, and that's all this team fight competition would need.
Tower does go over to OpTic though, so they take their 3rd tower of the game as Asta finishes that off. TP is in now though, that's Alorum, I believe. Yep, getting knocked up there by Tree. Starting with a great ulti though, Speaker barely able to get out of there. Alorum kills him with the Raging Bull. And now Treat's dancing back towards his team, but he's getting shot at as it happens. Big Hemoplague there from a Blaze Olive. He's going to try and turn the game back around. Alorum with a knockup finds a Blaze Olive and does force him to flash out of the way as Treat dances back and forth. Brangini with a late ulti does barely find the root. Now into stasis he goes, but another great binding by Gate is going to turn that back around as well.
Gate has been crazy good. The bind that we just saw wasn't even the best one. The first one that we saw actually connected on 2 members simultaneously, so he has just been crazy so far, and being a part of 6 kills, the bottom lane involved in 7 for Asta. So this is a game that is being carried from other lanes, and that's a great sign for OpTic.
I also love the use of the Herald there by OpTic. Yes, opportunistic because you just won the fight, but getting this Herald after this fight really sells your advantage.
And look at the bind that, oh, well, first of all, he misses the laser, but that's not what we care about. Your luck support, we don't care about that one. We care about this one. Look at that, it hits the Kennen as well. The Kennen that would have had the opportunity to go in and utilize the ultimate with his Sanyas. So I think that that bind really slowed down TSM, and it put Brandini in a really tricky position of, do you re-engage once the fight is in a suboptimal position, hoping to get something big, or do you just let your members die? And he chose the first option, and I think that both would have probably been bad. So overall, OpTic walks away victorious.
Yeah, just credit to OpTic for playing that fight well and continuing to apply that pressure. Up about 5,000 gold, closing in on 6 pretty swiftly. And that Herald taking 2 towers in mid, starting from the tier 2. Has to feel good. You can see a massive hole just in the center of the map now as TSM have to continually worry about defending that open inhib. And OpTic are able to push so deep into enemy territory.
There's a 3,000 gold lead just in the bottom lane between Asta and Johnson.
Alorum again, pull the forward god, finds 2. Nice ball there. And that's going to be first kill onto Brandini. Dardoch diving into the back line, has ulti at the ready, but doesn't commit it just yet. Speaker trying to find something on the back end, but that tower already dead. Treats goes in a little bit willy-nilly. Good stun there for Dardoch to try and find a pick-off and to delay Speaker, but here's now the Jarvan flashing out, lays it in onto a Blaze Olive. Is going to be the kill, as that looks like a dead Xayah, and is as Dardoch able to find the Q-snipe after that flash, and OpTic are just exploding in this game.
There is nothing that TSM can do that OpTic is not accounting for at this stage in the game. Spica gets stunned on the side, can't get into the fight, and Brandini at the very start got prioritized. His E is down, so the engage is not happening, so OpTic can easily go ahead and commit to just knocking him up time and time again. It's a children's party, and he didn't want to be in the castle, but they closed the door on him, so he wasn't able to get out. Instead, he gets sent back home, and the engage here that Spica was looking for, look at that, the stun on the side, and it's just no contest when you have such an item advantage, level advantage, and team advantage.
Yeah, again, said it time and time again, Crumbs, but Asta and Gate have just taken over this game for OpTic by themselves. The Scarlet now solo starting the Baron, does have friends around him though. OpTic knows how far ahead they are, just forcing TSM Academy to come to them. Treat's gonna eat another binding, and Dardoch's already out of there. He wants a kill. Well, leave Alorum to just tank up the Baron. Binding again, barely missing onto Treats as Alorum finally pulls off the objective.
Yeah, very bloodthirsty out of Dardoch, but in his own right, Spica was in the area, and OpTic had not done their due diligence in establishing deep vision. Yes, they denied vision around the Baron pit, but when you're dealing with a Jarvan, you can always find a way to check the pit or get in. Flag gives you vision, and then the combo is a 1-2 press smite for a 50-50.
Also a Mountain Drake up in 13 seconds that would help this attempt on Baron. But OpTic right now just staying on the left side of the map, wanting to continue to build your advantage. Zola too far forward. Looks like he's about to get picked off, and Gate deserves the kill, does collect his first.
Oh, he used his ultimate there, which might be a pretty big deal. A fight will surely break out within the next 30 seconds as OpTic is poised around this objective. Blazolive does have teleport, which means that if he TPs in, the ultimate won't be available for the rest of the team.
OpTic are going to force the issue though. They're starting up the Baron. Blue Trinket down, now they know, but Dardoch's actually the one not in the pit. Going to try and assassinate Speaker. Does get the root down again. Dances back for the Q. Dardoch trying to keep them out. He can get over the wall relatively easily. Does get CC'd up. Into stasis he goes. Aloran with a massive ulti laser out of there. And a great ult by Dardoch to follow up. And it's an absolute massacre. Dardoch picking up the triple. A Blazol of TP's in way too late. And OpTic gonna grab 4 kills and the Baron in very short order.
He straight up styled in combination with Alarim with the stopwatch. TSM did not press tab, did not think that the stopwatch was coming out. So they're thinking, oh, well, if he's out here, we can just kill him and then get the Baron steal. They do get the charm, but he had Merc Treads. He pops his Zhonya's right away. The ultimate gets the stun, and in combination with Alarim, the rest is history. Really well played and executed by OpTic. And for TSM, what are they supposed to do? I think that that was the right call for them because there's just no chance of getting a steal against Asta and Dardoch combined. The Rend is too powerful.
I also think, though, that you can't really win a fight versus Ornn and Qiyana. It's so hard in the river.
Yeah.
In the Baron Pit especially to do much. So OpTic demonstrating the power of their comp. Asta continuing to show how he and Gate can be a threat in this league.
Look at the first upgrade from Alarim. Will be going over to Dardoch's Yomu's Ghostblade and will soon be followed by that Duskblade of Drakthar. Drakthar?
If he makes it, I think it's Drakthar.
Drakthar.
Not a lore expert though.
Sounds like a place with dragons.
Well, sounds like a win is on the horizon for OpTic. They've got Baron, they've already got this open inhib. Scarlet's, just casually pushing this bottom lane. Gonna shoot down the inhib turret pretty easily, and Asta and Gate will destroy the tier 2 remaining in top lane.
Playing from all 3 lanes, and now Dardoch joins the fray. There's an exposed inhibitor in the mid lane, so they could just draw TSM members to the top side and hammer away in mid. That's exactly what they will do. And OpTic can feel very comfortable when special abilities are used by TSM. Every time that Spica uses Flag, a fight's not happening until that's off cooldown. At this stage, it's probably at least a 10-second cooldown. So every single time that Spica does that, OpTic walks up aggressively and does whatever they want. And here we go again. The combo started. The fight is here.
Spica has to try, but Asta this time the one with the watch. Good on ulti. Brandini with a decent cannon ult though, but an absolutely massive ult again by Dardoch is going to give him another triple. Johnson, maybe the recipient of the quadra, but a Blazolive cannot live for too much longer. That's going to be 4. Do they try and chase the quadra, the penta for Dardoch? It's set up. They're going for it, and Dardoch, he does get it. A pentakill to cap it all off and end the 8-game slide as OpTic upset TSM Academy.
It's gotta be the Qiyana for Dardoch that gets them out of the slump. The 8-game losing streak has finally been lifted, and a pentakill for Dardoch to top things off. What a great way to really bring some camaraderie back and some positive emotions for OpTic Academy.
And again, I think Treats may have to eat some of those words because not a one-note team at all in that particular game. The bottom lane, yes, they brought in Johnson. Yes, they've secured playoffs, but that was a struggle in that matchup.
Yeah, it really was. And I have to wonder how much of that was the early game, because the early game was a lot about the junglers not being involved in the bottom lane, yet helping out. Sorry, the bottom lane is helping out their junglers. So it felt like maybe they thought, okay, well, we're not going to be as involved in this early game. We're going to let Jarvan and Qiyana kind of dictate the pace of the game. And sooner rather than later, drop the ball on the last hits and then drop the ball on the engage. And they lost that 2v2.
And I think the team fights are really the big story of this game. So we'll actually take a look at one now. 17 minutes, 45 seconds in. OpTic with the fight here at the Rift Herald. And just watch how hard it is for TSM Academy to do anything.
The second that the Jarvan is already chunked and waiting on the side of the Rift Herald, the positioning is already indicating that OpTic is going to win this fight. And then the binding on the cannon is the icing on the cake, because the biggest AoE damage at this level is not able to participate. And when he joins in, it's already way too late, nobody to combine it with, and that's just not what you drafted the Kennen for. You drafted him to be there with everybody simultaneously, and that never happened for TSM.
Yeah, I feel like they drafted for teamfight and just got out team fought straight up by OpTic and just all the combinations of abilities. However, we did have a bit of fun at the end of the game. Dardoch certainly maybe didn't have the early game he was after, but the late game certainly looked good. We'll take a look back at the end of the game and Dardoch's Qiyana pentakill.
It starts with a really nice engage onto Kalista. The second that she hops, Jarvan engages, but look at Qiyana, immediately deletes 2 members, and then is going to be hitting a really nice... Wait, did she use... It's kind of far. She didn't even use the ultimate.
I think she used it against J4 Cataclysm, perhaps, but the binding from Gate again sets it all up, and Dardoch insta-flashes knowing that he wants to celebrate the end of that game in style, and what a gold graph that was. Again, for the early game, very even between the two teams, apart from maybe, you know, an early edge in bot lane for OpTic. But as soon as that first turret fell down, that game snowballed wildly out of control.
You know, I'm not familiar with all the other regions that are playing Qiyana, but I think Dardoch can likely hold to his credit that he is the first professional Qiyana pentakill.
I think that's probably true. You know what? To give us their thoughts on the pentakill and more, allow me to welcome Gate to the broadcast via Discord. Gate, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. We ended our losing streak, so
yeah, congrats.
I think everyone's feeling good.
That's awesome. Dude, you were having a really good game with some nasty double bindings on the Lux, but Lux is kind of phasing out of the meta right now in the support role. Like, what's your take on the support meta right now and what works for you? Because you just found a win with her.
Yeah, I personally, I really like Lux because she wins her lane, and then her shields are really huge in team fights. So usually if you have a good early game with Lux, it's like right after Yuumi, Sona, whatever, I think she's the next best.
Certainly made it look it like that. I'm curious, though, about your general 2v2 matchup. Not just the matchup you picked, with the Kalista being a bit more aggressive, but also, again, with TSM playing, you know, a much different bot lane with moving Johnson in. Were you expecting the lane to be significantly different with them subbing in there a different AD carry?
Not really. I was only surprised they picked Zyracon against Lux. I think Lux is really good against Zyracon because one binding is leading to some big cooldown from them being blown. So I was just surprised they picked that into that matchup.
Now, when you're playing with Dardoch, how does it happen that he can play pretty much whatever champion that he wants? And sometimes it goes amazing and sometimes it's not that amazing, but it's not that it's even bad. It's just his champion pool is so unlike any other junglers that I have to worry, or at least be thinking that, is that difficult to play with? Like, you don't know if you didn't know if Qiyana was going to pop off or what to expect from Qiyana jungler.
So I think generally how it goes is we have an idea like, oh, this could probably work in the jungle. It clears really well, stuff like that. And then we try it in our practice. And if it looks good, you know, we try to put it straight on stage. We played Qiyana. So what you're saying is it also has a chance to go wrong. That's definitely true. We played her our first game in the Super Week. I think we took the loss with her, so we learned from that. But yeah, Dardoch as a player, he really likes he picks up these new champions really fast, so we're always open to trying them.
And of course, with the rest of the split, not having that much time left, but having the last playoff spot still up for grabs. With this win here, certainly I think a victory that you're happy to get. Do you think, given how hard the rest of the schedule still is for OpTic, that you guys can close out the season strong and maybe even sneak into that final playoff spot?
I mean, definitely we're clinching because it's pretty close. But you know, I think we're kind of a momentum-based team, so this win is definitely, we're off to a good start, right, for the last few games.
Certainly are. Well, thank you so much for joining us, and congratulations on your win today.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, well, there are still more bouts to behold. We will return shortly with Game 4 of the night, which is Clutch Gaming Academy versus Echo Fox.
Words. Here we go again. The combo started. The fight is here.
FLICKR has to try, but Asta this time, the one with the watch. Good on ulti. Brandini with a decent cannon ult, though, but an absolutely massive ult again by Dardoch is going to give him another triple. Johnson, maybe the recipient of the quadra, but a Blaze Olive cannot live for too much longer. That's going to be 4. Do they try and chase the quadra or the penta for Dardoch? It's set up. They're going for it, and Dardoch, he does get it. A penta kill.